our colleagues in media, Kendi and Daniel, are now available in the media. Before we put our questions in front of him, we need him to speak freely about his experience with volleyball, his experience with international clubs. But before he start talking, I need to put to outline and highlight his great history with volleyball. Mr. Jean Patrice Ndaki, one of our great icons of volleyball in Cameroon. He was born on 5th of May 1979 in Yaoundé of Cameroon. He started his life with Port Douala in Cameroon. Port is one of the greatest clubs in Cameroon. I saw him with that team in Cairo in Egypt. He played very well while Port qualified to the semi-final of the African Club Championship. Then he shifted from 2002 to 2003 to France in Fritz and Montpellier, and then AS Cannes. And between 2006 to 2007, he played to San Bru Volley, and then Al Arabi of Qatar. And then he has a great experience in playing in Japan, in Sakai, Osaka. I saw him actually. I was in Japan during the World Championship and World Cup, and I saw how popular he was in Japan during that time. Then after that, from 2012 to 2013, he played in Japan in Sting Volleyball career in Japan, and then in Kuwait Club, and in France 2014 2015 in Clermont and Arago, and then in Swahili of Libya, and finally in Amiens in France. With the national team, he played more than 300 games, and he was the gold medalist in African Volleyball Games in Mozambique 2011. He participated twice in the World Championship in 2010 and 2014. Now I put the mic to Jean Ndaki to put his input about his history. Talk whatever you will. I am sure that all the volleyball family are waiting for your words, Jean Ndaki.
Thank you, Tarek. Thank you very much for the invitation. So I was really surprised when Captain Sheriff called me, and I was really surprised when he told me that he want me to join the webinar, and I accept, because it's a great honor to be here with you today, and really a great honor to share my experience with all the players, all the volleyball players in Africa and all over the world. What can I started volleyball in 1989. I was 10 years old. So my mother is a sports teacher, and I was the kind of kid who cannot stay at home. I always need to move. I always need to play. I have a lot of energy. So she had this idea to every day I have to make a different sport. So she decided from Monday I'm doing judo. Tuesday I play volleyball. Wednesday I play tennis. Thursday, and then I start again with judo. So during all the week I was doing a different sport. And finally, when I grew up more, so I chose volleyball and basketball, because we are in the city. We didn't have other sports. So me and my brother, we played volleyball and basketball. But finally, it was a great idea, because tennis give me the endurance, aerobic, judo give me the strength on the legs, and volleyball. So I start to like volleyball. So when I start to play, I become a very good player, because physically I was able to move, to jump, to spike. So it was more easier for me to start to play in the clubs. But when you start, you move from city to city, you just make new friends, but you have to face the difficulty to join a team when the coach already built a team, and then you came after. It's difficult to be part of the team. So I faced it a lot of times. with a lot of disappointment also when I was 16 or 17 years around. So I was not picked all the time when I came to play volleyball. So I spent a year and a half in basketball because I had no chance, of course, to play, to be in the court. The most important thing for me was not to be in the team, but it was to be on the court, to be a starting member. So I was working to be all the time, even in basketball, I was working all the time to be a starting member. So when I decided to be 100% on volleyball, I was focusing on the skills. I had a coach who told me that volleyball, there are a lot of skills in volleyball: receivers, libero. At that time, they introducing the liberos and the opposite, by the way. So he told me, you have a good jump, you have a good swing. Why don't you play libero? Why don't you play opposite? I said, why not? I will try. But for me, the most important for me, volleyball was block. I wanted to be a middle blocker. Yeah. So we start to work both middle blocker and then out opposite. And finally, the first time I play a game, official game, I play opposite. And the next day I play middle. And the opponent was surprised because they said this player can play very easily both positions. And then finally I kept the opposite because it was really funny to spike and to block, of course, to serve. And I couldn't make the receiver, so I was on the court and I was really happy with that. And then I joined the national team for the first time in a camp in 1998 with my friend Alain Fossi. So at that camp, I was the latest to arrive. All the players were already playing the team in first league, and I was coming from another city. My city didn't have a club, but I joined the national team. I practiced a month and a half. It was the junior national team of Cameroon. And then finally I was not selected, but this experience gave me more confidence than, like, you can come from a different city, not Yaoundé, not Douala. You can come from a small city, Kribi, and join the national team by your work, because they will appreciate what you can achieve. They will appreciate your work, not just because you play in a club and everybody knows you. So that experience gave me the confidence that I can be any player I want if I keep working. So that was this experience really changed the way to play the game, because at the beginning I was just playing for fun, just playing for fun, coming to the court, spiking, scoring, and go back home. So finally I started to think about what I can do more, what I can bring more when I'm in the court. So, and then the year after I joined Port Autonome of Douala, and then a new life started, and new environment, strong players, good coaches, and good conditions. For the first time, I received a pair of shoes by a club. That was a big surprise, because most of the time my mother was providing the shoes. My mother was providing the shoes for me, all the equipment. And it was the first time I told her, like, if you play volleyball, the club can pay the shoes for you. So you don't need to pay the shoes again for me. So she was not very comfortable with that, because I have to move from my hometown to Douala. But I convinced him that I want to make a career in volleyball. I want to become a good player, and I will.
When was this? When the club bring you the shoes for the first time? Which year?
1999.
1999, yes. Okay.
1999. So it was when I think about it now, it was not a big deal, but for me at that time it was something I couldn't even believe, Yeah. Coming from a small city, you arrive to the big city and you receive a pair of shoes, brand new, from the club with equipment, socks, shorts, all the equipment. It was the first time for me to receive, and I even pay for that. So it was a big surprise for me. And then I start to work, like every day. We practice every day, and I wanted to join the national team. I wanted to go abroad, and at that time the best way was to join the national team first and have the chance to play in Egypt or in Morocco, in Algeria, and why not making a camp in France so that a club can see what you can achieve and maybe have a contract by the end. So I worked for that, and then finally we went to France with the national team, and then Fréjus offered me a contract, and then the coach at Fréjus was Eric Ngapet, and he convinced me to come because he was the coach. I said, okay, the deal was not so good, but the coach was for me. I went there for the coach, you know, because I saw what how he can change a player. I watched the video. He was training Paris Volley. He was training Poitiers. So I know exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for this coach who can bring me to another level. And that's what happened when I arrived to Fréjus. He was really strong, and this is how he is. He was really strong when he speaks to you. You have to do this. You have to do this. Don't joke. Don't be serious. Be concentrate. Be focused. And for the other players, he was kind of shocking. He was yelling at me. For me, it was normal, because if in Africa, if someone is yelling at you, that means you are not doing good at all. You cannot be good and someone is yelling at you for nothing. So I was always thinking, like, I need to do more. If he's yelling at me, I need to do more. Even in the newspaper, on the Sunday, they said I was the best player, I was the best scorer of the game. And in Monday morning, he started yelling at me Monday morning. So he said, forget about the newspaper. You have to work harder. You have to practice. You have to improve. And during 1.5 years, I have this kind of coach every day who was pushing me. And my skill was growing and growing. And I moved from Fréjus, third league, directly to Montpellier first league, to see how good the coach is to bring me from this level to this level. I didn't go to second league. From third league to first league, and I was starting member in first league. So I played in Montpellier, and then 2 seasons, and from Montpellier, also another different experience. The first professional club with different nationality, Canadians, French, Germans, Czechs. So it was a different environment. So I have to be for me, I have to be a starting member. No matter what, I have to be. So I was working to improve my skills. Especially when you move from third league to first league, the ball are higher and quicker. The spiker are stronger. The setter are smarter. The service is. The game is the speed of the game is more than in third league. So I have to work harder in Montpellier, and that leads me to Cannes. And before I went to Cannes, I had this conversation with Laurent. Laurent was the head coach in Cannes, and we were playing against Cannes. I was in Montpellier. We were playing against Cannes, and he come and asked me if I would be interested to come to Cannes. I said, why not? I'm here to learn. I'm here to be one of the best players. So if I have the opportunity, why not? And he said, okay, we will talk about that. And then he asked me, how do you work your block? And I told him I watch a lot of videos of basketball players in NBA. They have videos they are making tapes of the practice, and then they go back home, and then they can analyze what is going on and during the play. So I told him I bought myself a camera, and I was making short videos of when I practice block, when I move to the left, when I move to the right, to start to improve my skills. And he found it very interesting. I was just making but I saw basketball players doing it. I was thinking maybe I can do it also myself, and maybe I can learn something from the videos. And then he said it was very interesting. None of his players are doing like that. I just told him I was doing like that to improve myself, to improve. It was a kind of personal challenge, because I had in the team a very good middle blocker, Olivier Lamoise. One game he made 11 blocks in one game, and I wanted to be like him, be able to read the game, be able to make 6, 7, 8 blocks by every game. As a middle player in first league, is very huge in first league. So I wanted to improve. I wanted to become the best, one of the best, and every time looking for the way to improve myself by physical training, by visual training, by mental training. And gradually I start to be more confident, more powerful, of course. And then I moved to CAVB, another level again in France, because we play the European Champions League. So 2 games per week. That is very, very, very difficult when you come from Cameroon and you have to play in north of Italy with -8, -10. When you come from Douala, it's very difficult. But I tried every time to be on the court, and it was more difficult in Cannes because the level is compared to Montpellier, the level was more higher. But when we play against Italian team, I can compare our levels, and I said Italy is more stronger at that time. Italian team was more stronger than French team. So, and then I wanted to play in Italy. And then I was trying to work again to move from Cannes to Italy. And then during that season, we had 2 opposite players from Czech Republic, and both of them get injured during the season. And the head coach Laurent asked me if I want to play during 1 month, if I want to play opposite. The first thing I told him was if I play opposite, when the opposite will recover, I will lose my position as middle. He said, no, don't worry. When they will come back, you will get your position back. I told him I'm not sure, because if you put another player at my position and he's doing well, you will not change that. But because of course the opposite was better than me, because they have more experience at that position. But finally I told him, okay, for the team I will accept. I will make it for the team. The team needs someone to play opposite. Okay, I will play. So I play opposite during 1 month, including three matches of Champions League, and then 3 matches of French Championship. And 1 month later, what I told him happened, because when the opposite came back, the middle who was playing at my position was doing really well. So I moved to the bench. So I was really frustrated, because I don't like to be on I never like to be on the bench. And then the season ended like that, and I moved to Saint-Brieuc as opposite. And from that time I decided I want to play opposite. And when I moved to Saint-Brieuc, the club was coming from 2nd league to 1st league. So they were looking for opposite, and my friend Constant called me and he said, there is a club, my club is looking for opposite. I said, okay, I want to play opposite. And he was like he made the thing happen. He convinced the coach, he convinced the president, and finally I went to Saint-Brieuc. And from that time, I decided that I would be the best opposite of the league. Just because I wanted to stay in Cannes as opposite, but they didn't give me that chance. They said, okay, we have our two opposite back, and both middle are doing good, so we will not renew the contract. Okay, I'll say, okay, no problem. I moved from Cannes to Saint-Brieuc, and I just want to prove that I can be better opposite than they had in Cannes. So I practiced very hard that year, and I was the best spiker and best scorer of the league at that season. And I told to Laurent, you should have kept me in Cannes. And he said yes, but at that time I couldn't know that you have such a potential as opposite. I always saw you playing middle, and just 1 month as opposite, I say, okay, you didn't trust me, no problem, but I was working harder to show you and to show to everyone like I can be a good opposite. And from that opportunity, from that being best scorer and best spiker, I had this contract to Japan. So my agent called me and he told me like, I have a contract for you in Japan. I was like, Japan? He said, yes, do you know Japan? I said, yes, I know. I on the map, okay, I can see the Japan on the map, but I don't know nothing about Japan. Okay, mangas, okay, I'm watching Dragon Ball Z and One Piece on TV, but that's all. And he told me it's very interesting. If you go there, you will see the mentality is different and everything is different. It's okay. And when I get there, everything was really different, like from the food to the way to practice, to the way to prepare the practice. And I was discovering something really different. And every time I went to the practice, all the words of Erin Gapet was sounding in my head like, don't think about yesterday's practice. Don't think about yesterday's practice. That means don't think about the tiredness of yesterday's practice also. Because he was always telling that don't think about yesterday's practice. Okay, yesterday we practiced 3 hours, but today is a new day. You don't have to think about yesterday because you have to be focused on today's practice. Never think about how difficult yesterday was. Just focus about today. And it was sounding in my head because in Japan, practice is 3 hours in the morning, 3 to 4 hours in the afternoon during the camp. So like 2 months before the league starts, this is how the practice are going in Japan.
This means that about 7 hours practice per day?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I get to Japan, it was like, I went back to school. I mean, for my body, I was not thinking I can support, my body can support this amount of jump, this amount of spikes per day. And it was like, and it was normal for them to practice 3 hours in the morning, have a snack, and then coming back in the afternoon and leaving at from 4 to 8 and those kind of things. And I was really amazed by how quick they were recovering, because the next day is the same day. So from Monday to Friday, you have 7 hours per day. And then Saturday, you have 3 hours or 2 hours. At the first 2 weeks, I was sleeping all the time. I was telling it's jet lag, but every day I was like done. I was really tired. But when I was remembering all the things Erin Gapet was telling me, I say, okay, it's time to look about the fun inside, because sometimes you have a ball to spike, you are so tired that it's not funny. You just spike like a robot. So because it's your job, you have to spike. You're just spiking. And then when I get back, I spoke with him. I was talking about how difficult it is, and he really seemed like I'm complaining. He say, okay, you like volleyball? I said yes. You like being in Japan? I said yes. Okay, so what is the problem? If you have 7 hours practice, you have to deal with that. It's not a big deal. They are doing that, right? Yes. So you can do it. Just find your way to have fun. If you don't have fun, so move from there, come back to France. So I start at that moment to find the fun, because without fun it's become a job, and sometimes you don't want to go to job. But if you wake up in the morning like it's a funny day, I'm going to play volleyball, you will not feel the fatigue, you will not feel the pain, the new swelling, you will not feel everything. You will just go there and get and find the fun. So I spent 5 years in Sakai Blazers. It was really difficult physically because you play, the league is very short. All the games, like you play on Saturday and then you play on Sunday, sometimes in different cities. After the game, you have to move with buses or plane to another city, go to your hotel, and then play the next day, and then go back home, and then you start the practice again. So I find the rhythm, and then I start to enjoy and also keep improving, because at that moment I was focusing also on national team. We need victories. We need victories with national team. And I was speaking with Fossi and Nathan and my brother Marcel, who was setter, and all the players, and we was kind of tired to see every time Egypt raising the cup, Tunisia raising the cup. And when sometime I was practicing to be ready if we have African Championship, to win. Especially those two teams, Egypt and Tunisia, who was raising the cups every time. And it was really difficult to defeat Egypt at that moment. Egypt was playing a very high level volleyball. When we come to national team, they always find the way to defeat us. And it was really frustrating. So when I get back to Japan, I was practicing with rage, like next time we will win. So, and all the players also, when I told them, like, when you go back, start to practice harder, because we didn't succeed this time, because maybe we were weak, maybe we were not ready. So keep working harder to see if after 2 years we can finally raise the cup, that cup. And it never happened with national team, except the All African game. And after the All African game in 2011, we played the African Championship in Morocco, and we lose again Egypt in final. And it was more frustrating for us, because after during the preparation of the African Championship, All African Games, Mozambique, I get injured, and Nathan also get injured. We had 3 players we were injured, and we just said, okay, we will play like that. We will forget about the pain and we try to play, give our maximum. But I think if we were not injured at that moment, we could win the African All African game and the African Championship. But that's like, sometimes you can do everything you can, but you cannot succeed. But you have to learn from that. And that's how I manage all my career, to when you fail, you have to wait to stand and see why you failed, and then you start again, you start over again to avoid to be on the ground again. And in Japan was really a good experience, really good experience for me, not only for the play but as a man to face some very difficult moment, face some difficult time, to face some difficult some difficult moment in the life, and to say, okay, I'm a man, I have to face that, I have to stand, I have to face all this difficult time, difficult moment, and go through and believe in myself. To tell you also about Japan, I couldn't, if someone told me one day that I can play with a broken bone, I would say no, never. If my bone is broken, I will lay in the hospital and wait for the surgery. But in Japan, I played with a broken bone and won 6 or 7 matches before get the surgery. And after the surgery, 3 weeks after, I played again. It was unbelievable if someone told me that like a year before, 2 years before. Like, you can do it. You can forget about your pain and try to find the pleasures, try to enjoy yourself on the court. If someone told me that years ago, I said, no, it's impossible. But now I can tell to everyone who's watching that if you have a broken bone, like on the fingers, you can play. You can play. Because I did it. It's painful, okay, but still, you can play. You can try to forget about, find something to focus your mind, like enjoyment on the court. Being on the court is a fiesta. You have to enjoy being on the court. And also about Japan, I had this coach, Nakagaichi. He told me something when now I'm coaching and I'm telling to my players when the season starts and when the season ends. Sometimes during the season, when the season ends or when the game ends, some players can feel the pressure. They are scared of winning. They are scared to play. So he told me that consider the set or the match like a video game. When you start level 1, okay, everybody plays level 1, everybody plays video game. Level 1 is easy, you have no pressure. But when you reach like level 11, 10, 12, and you're going level 20, the opponents you're facing on the video game becomes stronger. So from level 1 to level 19, you acquire skills. Some video games you acquire skills, maybe a bigger hammer, bigger arrows, and then that's preparing you to this level. So when you start the training camp, you have to think it's a video game who is starting, and the final stage would be to win the cup, for example. So every practice you're doing is like a video game. You're preparing yourself to become the stronger, like at that moment, the famous game was Monster Hunter. I don't know if someone is playing the Monster Hunter. It's very popular in Japan, but Monster Hunter, you have a knife, level 1, you kill a very small dragons, small monsters, and you get coins, and then you can buy a hammer, you can buy arrows, you can buy a sword, and then you moving like this with the bigger sword, and when you reach the biggest dragon, you have the biggest sword on the game. So he told me that you have to think about, if you start well, your practice, your preparation, the league, you play very focused and with confidence. When you reach to the final, you have everything to win. So that's all to the players who feel the pressure when it's time to play the final or semi-final. And I found it very interesting, and I kept it in my mind. And now I'm sharing it with the players I'm coaching. And then what else? In Japan, I had a knee surgery. It was the first time I had a knee surgery. So after the knee surgery, I stopped for about 8 months volleyball. So I take the time to recover, and then from there I moved to Kuwait. Kuwait was a bit different, and the practice was 1 hour and a half, 1 hour and a half, 2 hours, one from 5 to 7, but 2 games in the week. I had a chance in Kuwait when I went there. I had my former teammate in Montpellier, Xavier Caffer. He was living also in Kuwait, so I spent all the time with him. It was a good experience also. It was a good experience also because every time, for me, when I get to the court, I want to learn something. And in Kuwait, sometimes I played outside hitter, middle, opposite. Wherever the coach wanted me to play, I was playing. So it was also a good experience. I spent 1 year there, and then I was hungry for more challenge. That's why I moved back to Chaumont in France, where I met Nathan. Nathan was the captain in Chaumont, and it was more challenging than Kuwait. So I have to find out the rhythm again, because practicing in the morning, in the afternoon, I really missed that in Kuwait. I was doing lift training in the morning, but it was not enough. So I went back to France in Chaumont. I spent the half season, and then I had Arago who picked me, Arago from Set. So I want to thank Monsieur Duflo, Patrick Duflo. And then when I moved to Arago, I had the medical check in Montpellier, and they found my heart was bigger than normal. My heart was bigger than normal, and according to the new laws in France, they couldn't give me the professional license to play as a professional in France. Then the team doctor asked me to make more exams, and then they found the exam reveals that I had a small part in my heart was darker than the other, and the other part was red. And he told me this is kind of something genetic. There is no treatment for that. You can live with that without problem. There is no problem, but the rule is the rule.
Ndaki.
Yes.
Sorry for interruption. I need you to go back slightly because people want to see your face while you're talking. Because yes, good, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
It's better.
Okay, sorry. So in said the doctor told me that there is nothing special with this. It's not a disease. There is nothing special with your heart, but the law is the law. The rule are the rule. You cannot have your license to play as a professional. So you have to stop your practice with a professional team. You can walk, you can live normally, you can bike, you can go for swimming and everything you want, but you cannot have the license according to the new rules, to the new medical rules. So from Arago, I stepped back again. I came back to Cameroon for like 3 months, and then I was called by Swelly of Libya to play, and the coach asked me about your heart. Everything is okay? I just told him, yeah. I explained him what happened, that everything is good, but in French rules, I cannot have the license. That's all. But I don't feel any trouble with my heart. My heart beating. My heart beating is normal. And then they say, okay, you can come to Libya, and I went to Libya, and I started practicing, talking with the new teammates about my experience, sharing with them little tips. But I also want to learn from them, because I didn't know anything about Libyan league, and they told me about how they have to move with the war. Some match are canceled, some match are postponed. But it was another experience of life also in Libya. But they are really very friendly. They are really very friendly. So I found like brothers there. Every time they invited me their homes because I was staying in a hotel. So every night they pick me up and bring me at their homes. I spend time with them, drinking coffee, playing cards. And then we moved to Tunisia, to Sousse, to Arab Club Cups. And we lose in semi-final against Étoile Sportive of Sousse. Then we went back to Libya, and then African Championship, we went to Egypt. And the coach told me that we have to make a big hit here. We have to make a very big hit. And I told him, okay, no problem. I'm ready. I'm ready for the big hit. And we had the pool with Zamalek. And he came to my room and said, we have to defeat Zamalek. We have to defeat Zamalek. Personally, for me, because I'm Tunisian, I'm coach, and also the Libyan, and Libya never defeat Egypt, especially in clubs. So are you sure we can do it? I say, okay, no problem, 100%, we'll play 200% to win. And he said, okay. And he's make a speech in Arabic to all the players, and of course, I didn't understand, but one player translated to me and said, okay, this final game will be against Zamalek. We have to defeat them, and be careful about the players, be proud of your team, be proud of your country. He made a very good speech. Yeah. And then we went there like 200% motivated. And the issue of the game, we won 3-2. And I heard about in Libya, they was making a fiesta already, like we won the cup. It was like the biggest win of their life. I was like surprising. Of course I was proud, but I was telling that we are very far from our task. We are very far from our objectives to be in the final. And finally we lose the third place against Moha. Moha from Egypt. We end fourth at fourth position. When we get back to Libya, there were like 3,000 people were waiting at the airport to celebrate. They were so happy. I was really surprised. Like we didn't have even the silver, the bronze medal, but they were so happy. They were so passionate about the volleyball, and I was like, it was the first time for me to see people so happy of their team. And I said, okay, it's something new. I learned from that. Even you lose, but you play 100%. The opponent was stronger, but the people, I think they didn't know much about volleyball, but they can see like you play 100%. You were at your maximum, but still the opponent was stronger. It's enough for them to be happy, and they were celebrating. They were making fireworks and screaming, singing, giving us presents, fruits, baskets of fruits, box of cakes. I was really, really, really surprised. And after that, I went to Amiens because I was thinking about my transition from player to coach. So I need to start to focus about coach diplomas. So I went to Amiens, third league in France. I played and I was assistant coach. So I played there for 2 years. And every time coming back with national team, it was also, every time it was a real pleasure to be in national team and to represent my country. It was for me the most important thing for me to be in the national team. And my father was always telling me when I came, if you are not sure to win, don't participate. That was the speech of my father every time I came to Cameroon, and he said, "Do you think you're going to win?" I said, "Maybe." They said, "If you're not sure, why are you participating? You have to be sure 100% before participating." And every time I stepped to the court, I was thinking about that, like I'm here to win, and we are here to win. We are here to win. It was not every time it's the case, but we will try. We will try to be like 100% dedicated to the victory.
Kennedy,
Most of the
Kennedy,
yes.
please, can you unmute your phone because it interrupts the speech? Thank you.
Can
Yes,
I?
continue. Yes, okay. Continue.
Okay. Yes. So at first I was talking about my experience in clubs, and the other experience is the national team. My national team is a different environment. You sometimes with friends, very good friends, and sometimes with my brother. My brother was setter, I was opposite, sometimes middle also. So we had a very good atmosphere and very strong practices most of the time. I can say most of the time, because sometimes we have very bad condition to practice or to prepare a tournament due to sometimes it's difficult environment in the country. The country doesn't have enough money to give us to make preparation. But sometimes, I said sometimes, because most of the time it was very good. We have training camp in Slovenia, we have training camp in Qatar, and it was very benefit for us to learn about how to manage players coming from different environment, different clubs with different culture, and focusing to one objective for win the cup. Be together for like a month and a half or 2 months maximum. You have to practice hard, but also enjoying being on the court with the national flag on the shirt. And I try every time to think about representing the country is the most important thing for, I think, for everyone, like a soldier, like a ambassador, like even the head of state going abroad. Like, I'm representing this country. Oh, you don't know about this country? Check on Google Map, you will see. So you are representing the country. So you have to be 300. In the club, you have to be 200%, but in the national team, you have to be like 300, 400% focused to win, because the victory goes to the country, not for you. The victory goes to the country. When you win, you score, you say Cameroon wins, not Ndaki wins, but Cameroon wins. So it's more important. It's more important for me. It was really important for me, and I try to talk with my teammates and telling that this is the most important task for us as volleyball players, to represent our country. So and the country needs victories. The country needs victories. We have to work hard. We have to work very hard to bring the victories to the country. Sometimes it was working, but sometimes no.
Yes, of course. I don't want to tell you how entertaining was your speech. All of us, we're hearing every minute you are talking, every experience you passed, every day you told us about. Of course, this is very interesting. And inside this speech, which will be already put in our YouTube channel for all the young players to learn how to work very tough to reach this high level, how to withstand the strong situations, how to face the very difficult situation. Like you said, you put especially Japan as the 5 years in Japan from 2007 to 2012 as the most difficult part, how to accept training 7 or more hours per day, how to accept playing in different positions. This is very interesting. and very informative to our young players. Thus, our choice for Ndaki to be our first guest in our interview in CVB webinars was very successful. But now we need to transfer to questions, the part of questions, which is very important. I will allow my friends Kennedy and Danielle to ask their questions directly to you. But first,
Yes.
I need to ask you, the first question is social, because while we are talking, we were hearing the child weeping. How many children do you have?
I have 6 children.
Ah, the
Yeah, but
six
now
are.
now I at my sister's home.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
When Captain Sherif told me about the webinar, I already planned to visit her because she gave birth to a boy
Yeah, yeah. Where?
in Yaoundé.
Ah, Nyawindi. Now you are
Yeah,
in Nyawindi.
yes,
Ah,
I'm in
good.
Yaoundé with my sister's at my sister's house. So I
I
came
need
to
to,
visit the new baby.
yes, I need to ask you a very important question which face a lot of athletes when they start their life and they play different sports. Sometimes a young boy play football and then play basketball and then play volleyball, play tennis. How could you choose volleyball among these sports you are practicing?
My mother was playing volleyball, so I think she influenced my choice, my final decision. My mother was a volleyball player, and she put me to these different sports, but she was playing volleyball. And finally, I chose volleyball because I found the interaction more interesting. Like you are here, and the opponent is 2 meters from you, but you have to interact with him.
Yeah.
I found it more interesting to be in this configuration than basketball, where you have to go in direct contact with the player, or football. Volleyball, you have to think before other sport also, but volleyball is more in, you have to think more than before playing. You have to have a strategy to put the ball on the floor, and your strategy can match with the strategy of the opponent. So they have to, and then you have to adjust in half seconds. You want to spike, and then you see the libero. You want to make a tip, and then you see the libero already moving to cover, and then in the air you have to change. Also in different sport you can, but I found it more interesting in volleyball.
Yes. Two technical questions. The first is that first time I saw Jean Ndaki, it was an African Championship. I saw his talent in serving, because a bit service was a problem in Africa. You agree with me?
I agree 100% with you.
Yes. When Egypt was prominent and Tunisia was prominent, both teams were playing a very strong service because it put a
Yes.
pressure upon how could you play such a service? I remember the commentator on one match I was watching to you in African Championship, he said that when Ndaki come to the service, you should win 5 points with service. How could you develop your service?
It was a lot of practicing and a lot of video watching. I was watching video of different servers, and I was choosing the servers with around my age, like 2 meters, not Muzelski, but players of my body type, And I was watching how they toss the ball, and how they jump, how they swing, and I try to copy. For example, volleyball player in Italy, Rantorena, Cuban Rantorena. I was watching Rantorena. I was watching Brazilian players. I was watching Russian players, Techukin. I was watching French players, Granvoka, and try to, because I was not sure to have this their jump, their power. So I try to mix and trying to find my own style of tossing the ball. Because sometimes I was the one coach tell me I'm too close to the line. Another coach saying you are too far, you are too close, toss higher, toss lower. So all this information I try to mix them and find something and taking something good for me out of this. And I try, and then repeating. As I told you, in Japan, you can practice 4 hours. So if you serve like during 1 hour and a half. You have to make services with the radar. So they are measuring the speed of the ball every time you go to the serve. Like you have a sequence to 90 kilometers, for example, and you have to spike every time on the service 90. If you go down, then they say it's not good, you have to start again. And that's how we were practicing serve, I mean aggressive serve in Japan. And from that I had to develop my skills also.
Yes. Another question, which is also technical. I saw you playing as a middle blocker, and I saw you also as a opposite. If you return back to 20 years old, which position would you choose after this great experience in playing both positions?
100% opposite. Yeah, opposite. I will choose opposite.
Final question from my side, then I allow my colleagues to ask their questions.
Yes.
It is about the national team. A lot of times I followed the Cameroon team coming to the African Championships, coming to the World Championship qualifiers, coming to All Africa Games, the different competitions. Not only me, all the followers, they notice that Cameroon is always one of the major countries in having very good players in setting, in serving, in opposite position, in middle blockers, in outside hitters. Most positions are very good in Cameroon, but they came before the championship just a few days. So they trained together a very short time, and then they couldn't achieve their goal, either winning the championship or getting a good position. What's your comment about this? Because most of us, we know that Cameroon should at least be 5 times African champions, more times gold medalists in all Africa Games and different championships.
Yeah, that's correct. That's a good analysis. But when I was player, we faced this problem, and I tried to find not the answers, but we was just talking about amongst players on the situation. Most of the time, the federation here in Cameroon, I'm talking about the past years, the federation didn't have private sponsor. Now they have some private sponsor, but 10 years ago, the federation didn't have sponsor. They are expecting money from the Ministry of Sports all the time. To every competition, the Ministry of Sports have to give money to the federation. So when the federation will pay for the ticket or making the plan of the training camp, when they will receive the money. And that was the biggest problem we had, because if the money arrived 2 weeks before the championship, it will be that time we have to be ready. If the money arrived 1 week, it will be like that. So the head coach is waiting, the players are waiting, everyone is waiting, and the Minister of Sports, maybe there is a football game, so there will be the priority will be the football game, of course, and then later there will be the money for the volleyball. So if you have a very important match, like or a very important tournament like African Championship, and you receive the money for the preparation, like airplane ticket, hotel reservation, you receive it 3 weeks before the championship, you will have 3 weeks of training camp.
Yeah.
That was the main, that was the problem in the past years. Now the federation have private sponsor. They can anticipate. They can anticipate. I think this is how it works now. I'm not very good at administration, but I think it's how it works now. They can anticipate. They can take money from the sponsor, and when they will receive the money from the government, they can give back, or making they can make loans in banks, and then when they receive money, they can pay back and something like that. But at the past year was really difficult to have a very good camp because of that problem.
Yeah. Daniel, now you are, the mic is with you to ask your questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Jean. Quite a big profile you have there. I read a few things about you. I think you're a big inspiration to the African volleyballers. My first question is, 20 years of high-level volleyball, what is the secret? My second question would also be, you've played in France, played in Kuwait, and you've also played at the World Championship. What have you learned? What did you learn as a player that is now helping you as a coach? And lastly, I would like to ask you to point a few things. What advice would you give to African volleyballers who have ambitions of playing professional volleyball, especially in Europe? Thank you very much.
Excuse me, can you repeat the first point of your question?
Ask a question by question, please. Please, Daniel, ask one question, then yes.
Okay, first question is 20 years of high-level volleyball. What is the secret?
20 years of high-level volleyball. The secret is practicing, but practicing smarter. With a smart practice, you can play more than 20 years. I mean, practicing smarter is like you have to know where you want to be 20 years later, and then start to prepare it right now. So with all the difficulties you can face, injuries, and then also the social life, getting married, having children, so raise a family. So you have to manage all that. You have to really think about when I will have my second child and he will not sleep at night. I have to find a way to have a nap during the day, because I'm not sleeping at night. If I'm not sleeping at all, I can easily get injured. So you have to manage all that and make a plan. Like 20 years later, I want to be there. So I'm preparing it right now by doing lift training. It's really important. In Africa, we always think we are strong. Of course, we are strong, but the joints are weak. The ligaments are weak. So we have to reinforce our ligaments to prevent most of the volleyball injuries. Is knees, ankles, and shoulder. When you know that, you have to reinforce your shoulder, you want to reinforce your ligaments, your knee ligaments, your patellar ligaments, your ankles. You have to prepare your body to face all these difficulties. And you can play more than 20 years. I'm sure I don't have the records, but there are players who played longer than me. I just have this chance to achieve what I wanted to achieve, and then I'm here today to talk about it.
Good. Second question, please.
My second question is, what lessons have you learned playing in all these different leagues in Europe and then the World Championship?
The first lesson is always, the first lesson is always pushing the limits. Everyone have to push the limits, because most of the limitations are in our minds. You cannot do that. I cannot do that. We have to forget about that. And I was in Japan. I was practicing also harder. Even in France, I was playing harder to show to the world that volleyball is in Africa. Okay, this player is doing well. Where is he from? He speaks French. No, 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 he's not French guy. He's a guy from Cameroon. Where is Cameroon in Africa? Oh, they have good players also in Africa. That was the word. They have good players also in Africa. And in Japan, I had a chance. There were Kenyan players. Mayo was playing there. Ontere, Denis Mukwa. So I always told that not only Brazilians can spike strong and make points. Try to find players also in Africa. You can find very good players in Africa. I'm not the goodest player. There are more good players than me. But you have to check. If you just stay here and wait for the agents, Brazilian agent to bring you players, they will always bring you Brazilian players. If you wait for, say, a Serbian manager or a Serbian agent, he will bring you Serbian players. So if you don't go to Africa and see what's happening in the continent, you might pass the chance to have these African talented players. There are a lot of good players in Africa, but few are playing in very high level. There are actually Nathan in France, and the Moroccan guy, Ashdadi, he was playing in Brazil last year, and now he's playing in Poland. It's very few, and there was also the opposite of Rwanda, who's playing in Japan. I mean the high level. Yeah, the high level of players. Of course, there are a lot of African players playing all around the world, but I'm talking about very top teams and of the very top leagues. But if agents are taking the time to search for African talents, they will find. Yes. And I'm encouraging Ovita, Nathan, and Ashdadi to perform well and represent Africa, so that people know they are very good players in Africa.
Yes, like football even. There's
Yes.
Third question, Daniel.
My last question is, what advice do you want to give the young players in Africa who think they can play professional volleyball?
Okay, the advice, the first advice, it will be based on my experience. It will be based on my experience. Sometimes I receive emails from agents. They are looking for players, but the small teams who doesn't have money, they're offering $600, $800, and when I give this offer to young players, they say, no, the money is not good. And I always remind them, the first club I went, I was paying 800 euro. Moving from Cameroon to France, I was making 800 euro, but for me, it was not, for me, the most important was be there and have this condition to practice, because if you're not playing in Tunisia, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, the rest of the country, the condition of practicing are similar. In the other hand, the condition of practice of these countries are mentioned is similar to Europe. Heated gyms or cooled gyms, a lot of balls. When I'm talking like that, all the African, like even here in Cameroon, the team, you can have a team of 16 players, they have 10 balls for practice. It's not enough. When you go to France or you go to different countries, you have 3 racks of ball. Each rack have 40 balls inside. So during 1 hour, you will make 300 contacts. That is very possible here in Africa, in South, in our countries. So to improve and become better, you have to the first step is to move over there. Don't think about the money. Move over there, and by your work, you will make as much as you want.
Thank you
and
very
that
much.
Is my experience.
Thank you very much for this explanation. Kennedy, do you have questions? Kennedy. Yes, Kennedy. Go ahead.
No doubt about it. You are an ambassador of Africa.
The mic is not good, Kennedy. Please, can you... It looks... there is a problem in the mic.
Can I speak up? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I hear you now.
Hello, can you hear me? No doubt about it. You are an ambassador of African volleyball. Going by your achievements, your modest achievements, what would be your advice on how to develop volleyball in Africa?
Yes. What is your advice? He said, what's your advice to develop volleyball in Africa?
Yes. What would be your advice on how to develop Africa?
For me, I think it's acquiring materials, volleyball materials, nets, balls, antennas, in huge amount of balls to have the ball contact. You cannot perform well as in volleyball if you don't have good ball contact. I think volleyball is similar to, I'll take example of tennis. Because tennis, as volleyball, you have to have the first thing is have a good technique. You have a good technique, but having a good technique, you need to practice. But most of the time, when I walk around here, even here in Cameroon, you can see a volleyball school with one ball per 4 kids, one ball per 5 kids. They will spend 1 hour and a half. It will be really different or really difficult for them to match the skills of another team, another school, where the kids have 1 ball per kid. It will be very difficult to match the skills. I'm talking about the skills, volleyball contact. I'm not talking about the global play, but volleyball contact, the skills like receiving, how to move, how to. If you have one ball for 5 kids, and then another club, another school have 1 ball per kid, it's very difficult to match. You have to make triple or double effort to reach to the level of. So we need to have balls. We need to have, yes, volleyball balls to improve our skills. This is my opinion.
Okay. Any other question, Kennedy?
Yes, you said that your mother loved volleyball.
Sorry?
You said your mother loved volleyball.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
Let's say your mother is your role model in volleyball, or you have others outside your.
No, I watched my mother play volleyball, but women volleyball, how not slow. Actually, they are hitting very strong, but I'm talking about 30 years ago. It was kind of really slow, right? If you see women playing, of course, with my mother's age, it's really slow. The ball going very slow. But my mother in volleyball, when I wanted to, the player I wanted to be like was Yoko.
Yeah.
Yoko Jacques. He played for Cameroon national team. He also played for France national team. And I have the opportunity when I'm here in Yaoundé to play with him every Sunday. And he was the player I first wanted to be like. So my model player was Jacques Yoko.
Thank you very much, Jean Ndaki. Actually, we were making a time limit of 60 minutes, but your very, very fruitful speak extend us to 75 minutes and still more and more. We are very thankful to your participation today and your input. Actually, all the volleyball players in Africa have got a lot to learn from you. I've got a lot of experiences from your history and from your life. Thank you very much. And again, we are very thankful to African Volleyball Confederation, and on behalf of African Volleyball Confederation President, we are very thankful to Jean Ndaki for his input today. We also advise all the players to follow the footsteps of Jean Ndaki, because already his life is full of thrilling moments in France, in Japan, in Kuwait, in Libya, whatever countries he played. So thank you again, Jean Ndaki, for your input. And we hope you join us again in another webinar. Thank you. And again, thank you to all volleyball family. And you have to say the final word in this conversation.
I want to thank the CAVB president. I want to thank you also, thank Captain Sherif also, and many thanks to my coaches, all my coaches throughout my career, because they build the player I became. Each coach brings a brick, and then finally it becomes not a pyramid but a small house. I want to thank Coach Lingok, Coach Patrick, Coach Ninad, Coach Ngapet, Coach Nakagaichi, Coach Sakai, Coach Fauzi from Tunisia, Coach Kaba, and all the coaches who give me advices, all the former players who gave me a lot of advice. I'm thinking about Maklan Dengesi, who passed away 2 years ago. I'm thinking about Boven, who always give me advices. Even now I'm not playing, he always give me advices. I want to thank him a lot. The former president of the federation, Mr. Timba, the actual president of the federation. I want to thank him for his support. He was not president, but he was giving me a lot of advice, and now he's president. He's doing very well. I want to thank him. I want to thank Peter, former national team coach. I want to thank Mr. Mayam, who teach me volleyball, and all the coaches. They bring something in my life, because with volleyball I build a family, I build a life, I build a living. So they are part of all my life, and I want to thank them, me and my family. And because of them, I became a normal middle average player, I can say that, and I make volleyball for living. So thank you to them. Thank you to my family for the support, my mother, my brothers, my sister, my wives, and my children. And I want to thank everyone with a smile, with the encouragement, give me the strength to move on every time I was depressed, or I was facing a difficult time. And life goes on, and I hope to stay in volleyball. Even right now I'm coaching, but I want to stay in volleyball. Volleyball is my life. And I want to thank everyone for watching today.
Thank you very much, Jean Ndaki, for this very fruitful conversation. And again, we are waiting for you another time to give us a part of your great experience. Thank you all volleyball family. Thank you African Volleyball Confederation and the President, Dr. Amr Alwani. And goodbye for another meeting with new stars in volleyball in another webinar. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.